The Bernie Sanders meme. I am once again asking for your funding. Yeah. What I'm not seeing anyone else on the fucking, like, maybe I'm just not seeing the right creators. No one else is talking about how obviously this guy is the Reeves versus Scarecrow.
I finally sat and watched Reacher, and the same that happened with The Boys, where I binged it in a week. I binged this in like 2 days. The show is very good, and I never doubted that it wasn't going to be, but like, it's very good, and I can see why you were recommending it so much.
Dune Prophecy is right around the corner.
I could see this show very easily becoming similar to like Game of Thrones, which was, it became a bit of a pop culture sort of like explosion because suddenly everyone's like, if you're not watching it, you're missing out sort of attitude. I want to be proven wrong with this, but whatever it is, even if it's somewhat decent, Star Wars fans will hate it.
Hello, and welcome back to episode 137 of Cutscene Combos. We have got an absolutely massive week for you this week. Character profile on Scarlet Witch, the Penguin's penultimate episode, I believe.
Yeah.
Horry has finally got around to watching Reacher, so he's going to give us his thoughts on seasons 1 and 2. Dune Prophecy is out on November 17th. I believe around the world that might be America. We'll find out. So we're going to get excited for that together. As always, we've got the nerdy news, but before all that good stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
Can I just say that the start of this episode was the biggest example of a millennial pause I think I've ever seen. Like, that's a self-roast on me because I'm the same generation that does that. But like, I don't even know if it'll show in the edit. But how has my week been? I had a pretty chill week. Over the weekend, my parents have gone up to Scotland to see family and friends. So I had a few days of just chilling on my own, fending for myself, which resulted in me binge watching Reacher, which we'll get to later in the episode. But yeah, fairly chill week, doing podcast stuff, gym. Realized that, so I've done 3 months now at the gym, and
sweet.
3 months I am down 5 kilograms, which
That's
pretty like nice steady pace.
I've realised for people who watch the podcast, they won't know how tall you actually are. So, like, losing 5 kilograms your size is no mean feat because you need just a lot more. Yeah.
I mean, at my peak, I was in like the 90 to 95. My goal is to go back to 100, which at this pace, by my birthday next year, which I'm fine with. Like, yeah. I'm not one of those that's like, I know it's not healthy to just shred it super quick.
Yeah.
I've done macros and stuff in the past. Like, I'm well aware of how I should be doing it. It's like,
when it comes to anything with the human body, trying to do anything too quickly is just going to be worse for you.
Yeah. Either
it just is.
Either it's unhealthy for your body, or it's harder to then keep it off because your body's not.
Exactly. And yeah, and also if you do one of them tricks to like build muscle really quickly, when your body eventually is like, I can't build that much muscle that quickly anymore, you're more likely to get demotivated because you're still not seeing results and then just fall off again instead of building good habits.
So you're hearing it here first. If I suddenly get jacked before summer next year, I've probably signed a Marvel deal.
Yeah. Yeah, that is always the massive telltale sign. If some really funny, overweight actor just gets shredded, I'm just like, so, DC or Marvel?
Yeah, we're just like, we're going to have to take a break from the pod for like a month, and then I just come on, I'm like, absolutely. But yeah, other than that, playing games. I've been, another new MMO has come out into early access.
Building Sunshine?
Bright Shores? Bright Sunshines?
Yeah, I knew it was BNS.
Brighter Shores. It's by the original, I'm pretty sure the original, or at least one of the top devs of who used to work on RuneScape and who made RuneScape.
See, this is one of them ones where I just get exposed to someone who wasn't chronically online when I was younger. That wasn't my bag. I can get generous you want. She played the fuck out of RuneScape.
Well, I played the shit out of RuneScape. Like, that was my game in primary school of like, I get home, do my homework, I'm then on RuneScape for several hours. Like,
Insane.
but yeah, it's by the creator that it has a very similar like RuneScape vibe in places, but still
Does
its
it
own
look
game.
nicer?
Oh yeah, it looks more up to date, but it has like similar vibes in places. I'm enjoying it. It's early access, so obviously like things will change. But one cool mechanic it has is like usually in MMOs, as you progress to the new higher level areas, you get to a point where you never go back to the start areas.
Yeah.
This is like there is set skills tied to each area. So essentially people were crying because like, oh my god, I've got reset going into the second area. It's like, no, there is a new combat skill for those enemies, but there is obviously new skills as well. But there's benefits to be leveling up both areas.
Got ya.
So it's kind of like there is now a reason to revisit all areas, and it kind of helps with power creep a bit. So I'm enjoying it so far. I've only played it a day now, I think it's been out. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely my MMO RPG arc at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we've both been playing the fuck out of the new Pokemon mobile game.
Yes, there's also that.
Yeah,
don't
that's
fucking Lapras.
Imagine not having Lapras EX, am I right, viewers?
I'm actually so close to losing my mind with that event.
I want it to show on the record how quickly I went from being in solidarity with you to just throwing you under the bus by yourself. We spent a day trying to get it together. The second I got one, I was like, it sucks to be you.
I won't lie. I already had planned to, if I'd got it before you, to be like, oh my god, imagine not having a Lapras, am I right? And tag all the others.
I knew. It was the only thing to do. What else would you do at that moment?
I knew what was coming. I'm so glad on the same day I got the Squirtle full art.
Yeah.
So at least I had that to be like, well, I don't need.
Do you know what the worst bit was? So Jenna's coming from work off, just discussing all day the fact we've not got it. She sits down on the sofa. I tell her the event's on because she doesn't know yet. She goes to do it. 15 minutes later, after playing like 2 games, she's like, "Is this the thing you were looking for?" I'm like,
I think out of all of us, I've done the most packs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't got it. I'm fuming. But yeah, how's your week been?
How's my week been? My week's been pretty decent. It's the weird time of year in the workplaces of the world, as I'm sure everyone's aware, where as you get closer to Christmas, it becomes more difficult to get stuff done. But there is also more pressure to get stuff done. So in the industry I work in, our internal stakeholders are a bit more chill because it's Christmas and we've got to move on and like there's not a lot we can do. But external stakeholders, i.e. our customers, are like, this needs to be done before Christmas. And we're just kind of there like, maybe. So we're doing our best. We're all working really hard, but it's one of the ones where some very good people doing their job has resulted in us setting more realistic expectations. So now it's just trying to get them done. But I was like, I try and be a conscientious worker, so I saved 3.5 days of my holiday because I knew we were going to be busy in this period. I was like, I'm going to sit on that, and then once everything's booked in, I'll take whatever's left.
Fair.
And then last Tuesday, while we sat in the meeting booking stuff in, I looked through the calendar. I was like, oh shit, that decision's already been made. I need to book this in now. So someone was like, oh, can I book in this bit here? And I'm like, no, sorry, I have to book that as my holiday. That's the only time left. But I mean, it is what it is. It's just one of the ones where I was actually being too conscientious and I left it
a bit too
in a spot where you end up having to go, actually, no.
Well,
is what it is.
Yep.
But yeah, it's getting close to the Christmas season, but both my brother and Jenna have
Christmas music time.
have their birthday at the back end of November. So I'm literally I need a million ideas for people for everything. I just never know what's going on.
I mean, you just get them to make one big list of what they want.
Yes, that's what Jenna has to do.
Whatever she doesn't get rolls into Christmas. It's
okay, here's the problem, Hori. Here's the problem. Over the last 5 years, I have won most birthdays and Christmases.
I like how it's a competition.
Yes. You know me, it's a competition. Last Christmas, she did me in.
Oofed.
And she had a pretty solid birthday as well. which means I need to win birthday and Christmas, which basically means buying the entire list and then working out what goes where for like maximum points. Because
Oh,
like you can
dear.
only score like 10 points, so you don't want to put enough into it to score 11 and then only be able to score a 9 when if you'd have been more organised, you could have got a 10 and a 10. You know what I mean?
Can't relate. Single life.
You can buy me presents.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's all fun and games. I do love the festive season, but I also enjoy playing a bit of a humbug at times because that is
I
also
love
fun.
Christmas.
Christmas
I
is fucking lit. Imagine
I
not liking Christmas.
I put on the 1st of November in the group chat. I was like, right, Christmas music on. Like,
Yeah, do you know? Do you know what my only issue with that is? That I don't think there is enough good Christmas music to not drive me fucking insane by the time I want Christmas music. So I kind of have to wait until late November.
here's my thing. I don't listen to it nonstop. It's just like I have the rule of from November 1st. If I
It's
want to
allowed.
put, it's allowed, and I put it like coming back from the gym the other night. Obviously, Heart Christmas station's out. Just put that on for the drive home. It's like a 15, 20
Sleigh
minute.
bells ring a ding
Yeah.
ding ding ding.
And I'm just sat there like sweating, just like dead from the gym. But no, like
POV of Santa on January 1st.
Also a bit of lo-fi Christmas is a good mix to keep the Christmas vibes there, but not get bored of it. But yeah.
Oh, right. Should we get into
yeah.
I mean, we always get worried about the intro, but it's all fucking podcast. We'll waffle for as long as we want.
This is true.
Right, our character profile this week is on the Scarlet Witch. Do you know how many times I double and triple checked that I had not already done a character profile on the Scarlet Witch? Because it feels insane to me that I wouldn't have already done one.
Yeah. But then when I think about it, the only other time, like, because usually our character profiles will tie into something that's been coming out or film or something. The only time Scarlet Witch has, I think, been associated while we've been doing the podcast is Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And
that moved straight into Batman.
Yeah, and then you picked different characters from Doctor Strange that were less known. So yeah. I mean, I did see it. I'm surprised that we hadn't done it, but
yeah. Well, so there are times where I expect you to go, "You sure we haven't done that one before?" But yes, our character profile this week is on the one and only Scarlet Witch. Coming off the back of that for all along, it only makes sense to go back and look at the Scarlet Witch's history. Wanda Maximoff is the twin of Pietro Maximoff and is a Romani witch who would go on to change the world as the Scarlet Witch. She first appeared in X-Men number 4, 1964. Born in a nomadic Romani clan as a child, she was kidnapped by the High Evolutionary and experimented on. These experiments gave her and her brother abilities. The High Evolutionary's base of operations was also on the Wundagore Mountain. This mountain was the prison for the Demon Lord of Chaos, Chthon, who sensed baby Wanda's potential and imbued her with his chaos magic. Upon finishing his experimentation with the twins, they were given to Django and Myra Maximoff to raise. Eventually, having fallen on hard times, Django was forced to steal food for his family. This led to the rest of the clan turning their backs on them and attacking them. Pietro managed to save himself and Wanda with his newly manifested super speed, but not their adoptive parents. Many years later, Wanda and Pietro were surviving in Central Europe, but still struggling, when Wanda accidentally set fire to a building in a small village. Once again, fearing her power, the villagers turned on her and called her the Scarlet Witch. It was only the arrival of Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants who arrived to save her and her brother, leaving them feeling indebted to Magneto and his ambition. After siding with Magneto against the X-Men for an extended period, Wanda began to doubt his vision and was feeling uncomfortable with some of his plans. This frustration met a boiling point when Magneto launched an attack to kill the X-Men while her brother was their prisoner. This would have also sentenced him to death. It was at this point she defied him. She then saved her brother and left behind this life of villainy. Shortly after, they were recruited to join the Avengers. With only Captain America left from the founding members, herself, her brother, and the world-famous archer Hawkeye joined Cap in the new formation. Wanda went on to fall in love with a later addition, Vision, an artificial being created by Ultron to fight the Avengers, who instead joined them. Vision and Wanda married and had 2 children, Billy and Tommy. However, the magical power used to create them came from Mephisto, so when he reclaimed that power, they no longer existed. Having her memory wiped of this incident also led to her leaving Vision and joining the West Coast Avengers, where she met and fell in love with Wonder Man. Wonder Man being the human who the Vision's brainwaves were based off of. Eventually, as her powers grew and grew, she was reminded of the death of her children, and this caused a meltdown, pushing her over the edge, causing her to destroy Avengers Mansion and leave many members dead or severely injured. Doctor Strange used his powers to put her in a coma and take her to the home of the mutants, Genosha, for the skilled telepath Professor X to try and help. This led to arguably one of the mid-2000s most famous story arcs, House of M. This is where, with no idea how to help or even potentially control Wanda, the idea to potentially euthanize her crept up. This scared her brother, who pleaded with her to do something. So she did. She recreated the world. In this new world, mutants were the majority, Magneto was leader, and many other heroes were given their deepest desire in order to try and keep everyone happy, leaving Wanda to live a seemingly normal human life with her 2 children. However, some people did remember the old world and fought back, with Magneto killing Quicksilver, believing this was all his doing. This caused Wanda to break down in a fit of rage. Wishing to punish Magneto for what she had done to his brother, she said the immortal line, "No more mutants." Remaking the world again, but with almost everyone losing their powers. In fact, if not for Emma Frost and Doctor Strange, everyone would have been left powerless. This caused countless deaths, as people who could have been flying fell from the sky, and people who relied on their mutation to survive dying. While there is still loads more that could be said about Wanda, I feel this really gives an idea of what Wanda has been through and how, despite her best efforts, it routinely feels like the deck is stacked against her. I feel like in what we've captured here, we've seen a lot of the arcs that have been kind of adapted.
Yes.
So WandaVision is obviously heavily inspired by the situation with Billy and Tommy, but there is also a little bit of the House of M situation going on there, where she's created this elaborate world for herself.
Yeah.
They've just changed the scope of it somewhat. Of course, there are further stories. She goes on to rekindle her relationship with Vision a little bit. Eventually, the reincarnations of her son come and find her, and she's reborn, essentially. Exactly. It's very interesting to see how they've handled Scarlet Witch so far. A lot of people might be going, wait, isn't Magneto her dad? That's complicated.
Oh.
He was. But then around 2012, maybe a little bit earlier, it got retconned that he wasn't her dad. Now, for anyone keeping track, around that time would have been just as the MCU was starting to kick off, and Marvel didn't have the rights to the X-Men. So there is a theory that holds some weight, bearing in mind the writer has said it wasn't his choice to make this retcon, and he was told to make the retcon, that they didn't want to introduce Wanda and Pietro when they didn't have the rights to Magneto. Which is then when it got retconned that he was in fact not their dad.
I mean, it's one of them.
And also as a result of House of M, where she remade the world again with no more mutants, there is a plausible argument which would have made more sense had they done it this way, but they decided to do it a different way. Could have been a case of, oh, when I remade the world again, I made it so that you weren't our dad anymore. Because at the time of House of M, Magneto was her father in canon still. That was before the retcon.
Okay.
So they there is a logical way they could have done it.
If they want,
but they did it a weird way later down the road.
Which is questionable.
Yes, the joys of retcons.
At the end of the day, like, you can see why they would do that with the MCU launch and stuff.
It's one of them tricky ones where anyone who kind of reads any level of comics and watches film and TV we discuss can normally, by my character profiles, tell where weird retcon shit happened versus what was their actual first appearance.
Yeah.
Like Wanda and Pietro being in trouble in Central Europe and then Magneto arrives, you're like, oh, so that's how they were introduced. That's their first appearance right there. And it's like the High Evolutionary on a mountain somewhere deep in Serbia is where they were. It's like, yeah, that's a bit retconny. Why is there so many weird things on top of each other there?
Yeah.
But yeah, that is Wanda. The Scarlet Witch. We'll have some more Agatha all along adjacent character profiles over the next few weeks as we get ready to move into the Christmas season. Rightio, should we get into the penultimate episode of The Penguin?
Yes. It's getting close to the end, unfortunately, because I'm very much enjoying this show.
It's been good, hasn't it? They've done some of the cooking we like to see.
I mean, I'm not surprised because it's Matt. Like, we love the Batman.
Not particularly, yeah. They've gone out. They've got someone who made a really good Batman film, built out a really smart world. HBO know how to make compelling TV, and they've also gone and got really good actors to play the roles. It's what you call a winning formula.
Yeah, it's basically James Gunn's come in and gone, oh yeah, you did a great job with the Batman. I'm just gonna let you keep doing your thing. We already know he's like trusted Matt with his Reeves verse and like doing what he wants. So it was always going to be a very solid show. I think the thing that's kind of pushed it has just been HBO knows how to make a good TV show. And even though it's comic book, they've lent into the fact that it's not your typical comic vibe.
Yeah.
And that works really well for it.
It really does.
I thought it was really interesting that we would discover that where they are doing their operation is the exact same place of what happened to Oz's brothers that we finally get to learn.
Yeah. It's so initially me and Jenna sat there on the sofa watching like the origin of Oz. We were like, did he mean to kill his brothers, or was it like a prank that went wrong and he didn't own up to? And we're sitting there trying to get it. And then when it starts raining really heavily, just sitting down for the film, and he looks out the window one last time and then kind of goes, nah, and then snuggles up. I'm like, oh no, he knew exactly what the fuck he was doing. I
think it was kind of, I got the sense of it's similar to what we've seen him do, which is someone will laugh at him or like push his button in the wrong way and he kind of snaps in an evil way. And then immediately afterwards, he's a bit like, ah, shit. But like the Oz we've seen, he's then like goes, oh shit, fuck, now I've got to just deal with what I've done.
Yeah.
He
doesn't try and fix things, he tries to pivot, so it all seemed like it was part of the plan.
Yeah. So I feel like we got to see the first time of that where it's like he snapped because his brothers were being like brothers.
They're being inconsiderate of his disability, which, in all fairness, I get why that would piss you off. Not enough to murder your siblings, though.
No, but I feel like he shut the door and he's like, "Oh, you can get out on your own." If they got out and turned up straight away, it would have just been like, "Yeah, whatever." But I think when he then realized they haven't come back, well, I now get all my mum's attention. What a
Yeah.
shame. And it's that sudden, like, I didn't necessarily mean to do this, but I'm okay with it and I'll pivot into it. And it's like, yeah, like you say, it's that first, we finally get to see that first sort of time he did that. At least shown the first time he did that.
Lots of credit to the young actor playing Oz.
Yeah.
And the actress who played Oz's mum in the same time period. They both did a really good job of not only like acting very well, but you've also got to remember when you're playing a younger version of someone, you've got to have a decent amount of their mannerisms for it to be believable. It was incredibly believable that was young Oz and young Oz's mum. Like, it felt like it was them. It didn't feel like new actors, which is really impressive.
Yeah, they sold it really well of like playing the younger versions of these characters.
Last week I said I don't think Miss without some serious character development, I don't think she had it in her to kill her. I think this week we saw the character development necessary where she could kill her. I'm not saying she definitely will or definitely won't, but I think we've seen her develop enough this week where it's plausible that she now kills the mother.
Yes. I mean, I was saying that I could see a way that the mum died. It kind of has started to play out somewhat what I was saying, which is like we couldn't end up with all three of them in the sense of Oz's mum, Sophia, and Sal Maroni.
Yeah.
And I was like, either Sophia and Maroni are going to end up killing each other, the mum's going to get killed in there, and Oz is good. Like, there was a lot of dynamic. It was like a bomb waiting to go off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't expect Sal to die by heart attack.
Do you know what? I think that is the most Penguin way to win a fight, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Just stumble into a bit of really good fortune and then, like, make up a fake argument and fire a couple of bullets so that everyone thinks you dealt with him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I love that he got pissed off that he died and he didn't get to kill him.
Yeah.
And then he's like
he wasn't getting his arse beat.
And then it's like, but then he knows he has to sell that he did it and takes the ring.
It can't be a heart attack that took him down.
No, he's got to come out looking like the big bad. But I mean, that ticks off Maroni. That gets rid of that issue. It kind of needed to happen this episode, I think. And I think, considering the characters we've been so heavily focused on, it was always going to be him first, realistically.
It made the most sense.
I think it would have been weird if Sophia had died and he then was
the big
left.
Problem.
Yeah, just because we've been so focused on Sophia.
The only way they could have had it be Sophia gets killed is if Sal kills her in a really kind of violent, over the top way.
If he'd poisoned her with food or something like we were discussing.
Yeah.
I think that could have been interesting.
Also, I am once again the Bernie Sanders meme. I am once again asking for your funding. Yeah. I'm not seeing anyone else on the fucking, like, maybe I'm just not seeing the right creators. No one else is talking about how obviously this guy is the Reeves versus Scarecrow, or or even like the Doctor that comes before Crane, who he picks up his research. I refuse to believe it.
I think everyone's so focused, so we've been told this sets up the next villain for Batman 2. And I think people are so focused on what's going on in the show, and that Penguin's obviously they know Penguin's a villain. Sophia's being very big villain. Probably so focused on them. Whereas we have been like, who the fuck is this Doctor? He's sus as fuck. And I think what will happen is next week, it's going to end and he's going to disappear into the night. And everyone's going to go, hang on a second, who the fuck was this Doctor?
Yeah.
And where's he gone? And then people are going to start piecing it. But yeah, him doing weird shit with the red light again to the mum. Like, this is definitely him, like, early psychos, like, doing weird shit to control people.
Even if for whatever reason they decide they don't want to make him the Scarecrow, what he's doing plays into the creation of the Scarecrow. It has to. It would be insane for it not to.
I think, like, I still stand by the fact that, like, he's so obsessed with Sophia. He's going to see her die, and that's going to push him into this, like, now his experiments go from somewhat trying to help people, but into, I'm now going to terrorize people.
He becomes obsessed with fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that no one else seems to be discussing it is genuinely like, I feel like I'm losing my mind. I feel paranoid. So I'm like, how is no one else seeing this? It feels so fucking obvious.
With the car at the end pulling up, and he's obviously on the phone, I was like, Sophia's not going to be in this car.
Yeah, no, it's one of the ones that's like really obvious to the viewer.
As soon as she's on the phone talking to him, I was like, this is a setup. I'll be honest, I didn't expect Bomb. I actually was expecting Vic or the mum dead in there. Because at this point,
where is Vic?
Where the fuck is Vic? He sent Vic off to go get an army for him. Whatever that means. I presume he's going to go. I presume the idea is that he would go to the other gangs that he's doing business with and get them to come and help.
Has Vic been nabbed by the bat?
He wasn't underground, unless he went underground, because he left the apartment.
He's committed a murder in broad daylight. He knows about the Penguin's operation. He is that kind of level that Batman would go after for information.
Yeah, but it's like... See, this is another thing. Surely the Batman shows up after a bomb goes off in Gotham.
So, this is a very valid criticism of the episode. It's okay with Batman not appearing in this show until a massive bomb goes off. Because at that point, no matter what else you can go, oh, Batman's dealing with other stuff, the second gang violence escalates to the point where an entire street gets sunk whole in the middle of Gotham, the Batman is going to have to investigate that.
Yeah,
so it's almost bad writing if he isn't involved now.
Well, yeah, this is my thing is, it's like, it's fine this episode because the bomb went off at the end. Like, that's how it ended.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay if they don't show us Batman, but if next episode doesn't have, like, people talking about the fucking bats, like, so-and-so got took out by the bat, apparently, or Batman's... Like, if there's not, like, gang members whispering, like, and scared whispering about the fact that the Batman's been beating people up, or Penguin mentioning the fact that the fucking bat's onto them, there needs to be some, like, hint at the fact that Batman's been there trying to find out what's going on, even if we don't see him. Like, I get not wanting to show him, and because the show's focused on Penguin. Yeah,
him physically not being there is not an issue, but Batman has got, like, in the first film, Batman has built up as already being a bit of an urban legend, and they're fucking scared of shadows because he might be lurking there, shit like that. Criminals blowing shit up in the middle of the day, and no one going, the Bat's not going to be happy with that. Feels weird.
But with Vic, either there's...
He may have just passed out somewhere with a wicked bad concussion. Like, he was in a bad way.
So we know... I still don't think Vic's safe.
No, I don't either.
And either he's not going to turn up till it's too late, and that's going to be... Then the Penguin snaps him, being like, where the fuck have you been? I needed you. Now my mum's dead. Like, in the next... And, like, he turns on him. Or Vic's been nabbed. Or Vic's run off because he's like, fuck this shit.
I don't see...
I don't see that.
I think if the idea was he's run off, we would have got some indication during the episode. That's why I'm really confused.
My thought is like, obviously to get an army, he's obviously gone to them other gangs that Penguin was doing business with. That's the only thought I can think of where we would go to get an army for Penguin. But like, I don't know, either he's got nabbed in that process, or I don't know. Do you know what I think might happen? What if Sophia has nabbed him and she's going to try and make the Penguin choose between Vic and his mum? And obviously Penguin's going to go, sorry, Vic. But it's going to be a reverse. And it's like, he thinks he's sacrificing Vic to save his mum, but Sophia goes, okay, and shoots the mum, because it's like, I know who you actually really care about.
Yeah, it's one of them ones of, I'm going to take the person you care about most, and the other person's not going to want anything to do with you because you chose
to, like, sacrifice them. I
don't hate that. That's kind of fucked up psychology you'd see in this show as well.
Especially with what Sophia's now kind of, she's broken and gone that way.
The beauty of this show is Gotham is a perpetual hellhole. Like, that is its point. In fact, in the comics, Gotham as a city is cursed to never be happy. Like, and that was written in as like a joke on the fact that, like, Batman's so rich, surely he could just pay to fix the problems. It's like, he does try, but the city's literally cursed. It can't ever be truly good.
Well, if he tried to pay, there'd be someone corrupt would take that money and use it in the wrong way. Like,
Batman does spend a lot of money trying to make things better, but Gotham is cursed. I'm loving the show, and like I said, they don't have to perfectly wrap everything up because we know this leads straight into the film. So a couple of loose ends aren't the end of the world as long as they're loose ends that make sense. If we just don't see Vic in the next episode and he just runs off to get an army and we never see him again, that's dumb. But
there's definitely there is going to be some loose ends because they've said this leads into the next film. Like,
imagine the big reveal if Batman comes flying in to save Vic and Penguin's mother from, like, certain death.
No.
Like, that would be really fucking cool. Just you don't even really see anything. You just see him come flying in because it's from, like, Sophia or Penguin's point of view, and then they're just out cold in handcuffs. And you're like, the fuck happened? The bat.
Do you know what I think would be a really sick way? It's like the idea of what we just said about Vic and his, having to pick between Vic and his mum, and it's like Vic then and Penguin have it out, and Vic, he starts turning on Vic, and Vic runs into the sewers to escape. This person, and he's just stood, he's like hiding, and then from the shadows just gets pulled away by like a black glove, and you're just like, well, that was Batman.
Yeah,
and that's just where it ends.
After seeing Echo and the fight scene against Daredevil, which we said was really cool, I kind of want at some point
someone, like, knowing the bats, like, on the tail.
You know, like Werewolf by Night was like a special project for Marvel. Imagine that kind of project, but it's a horror film from a gang that's robbing a bank and Batman's lurking in the shadows. So it's all from the point of view of the bank robbers, and the Batman is there and literally you can have fun and make it absurdist so that it doesn't ever really look like Batman. It kind of feels like a monster to really show us how the criminals view the Batman. I think that'd be a cool project.
Yeah, that would be.
I will only charge $100,000 for the idea, DC. Think about it.
But yeah, next week's gonna be. There's definitely more death. There's going to be a couple of loose ends because we're going to expect that.
Yeah.
I still feel like we're waiting to really see Penguin go evil mode.
There is going to be a couple of moments in this last episode where we're just kind of like, and boom goes the dynamite. It's going to be Penguin fully explodes. Vic gets some kind of conclusion, even if that is a death. And we're going to finally go, that's going in that direction. I think that's going in that direction is going to be either a reveal of Jonathan Crane, Scarecrow, or we're going to find out that Dr. Julian Rush is just straight up the Scarecrow. There's going to be something. I'm calling it now. If the Batman Part 2 villain isn't Scarecrow, the way this show was written around Blizz and this Doctor is fucking weird.
Yeah.
The only other thing that might make sense is Mad Hatter, because he does a lot of hypnosis. But that would be worse, in my opinion, because it's a bit more fantastical. And also going from Scarecrow and Mad Hatter in the more strict universe we've got here, Scarecrow makes more sense than Mad Hatter.
It's also a bit of a bigger name.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah. We'll have to wait and see.
Indeed we will. Now, Mr. Zontal.
Yes.
Over the 137 episodes we've done of this show, I've recommended a number of things to you.
You have.
And I would like to say that, for the most part, my recommendations have always been met with a, yeah, you were right.
So far.
One of the ones I have recommended the most has been Reacher.
I disagree. The one you recommended the most was The Boys.
I said one of the ones I've recommended the most. The Boys was absolutely high, but that's because it's more topical for the podcast. You have now finally got around to watching season 1 and 2.
Yeah, and do you know what's funny? It didn't even come about fully from me being like, I want to watch something. Connor's constantly gone on about Reacher. Now, don't get me wrong. I think I'd said like a few months back, like I caught a couple of episodes of the Reacher. Like my mate had already watched episode 1. I saw a bit of episode 2. Like, but I didn't pay full attention because I was like, I'll sit and watch this properly at some point.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, I ended up before I get into me talking about Reacher, this came about because I watched The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which is
that Henry Cavill and Alan Richardson?
Yeah,
Richardson.
It was the one, I think we talked about it in the news like way back at the start of the year when it was a trailer. And it's the ones where they're not your usual British military spies, sent undercover off the books to destroy Nazi boats.
Okay, cool. And so it's kind of...
It's very...
less James Bond spies, more working class spies vibe?
Yes. It's
okay.
Very Inglourious Bastards vibes.
Okay.
Of like, everyone has their specialty. Definitely not by the book.
We're in the middle of a war, just get it done.
Bit of comedy. Because I think we watched the trailer and we both, the trailer was them on the boat laughing at each other as the like, Nazis are interrogated. It's a very good film. It's very funny in places. It's based off like an actual group of soldiers in the World War II that we had that were off the books, and so like loosely based on an actual. But yeah, it fits that same Inglourious Basterds vibes of undercover soldiers off the books doing it kind of not properly, fighting Nazis. Henry Cavill's great in it. Alan Richardson great in it. There's a lot of funny moments, some great action moments. But I finished that and I was like, because I'm trying to think if I'd seen anything else of Alan Richardson. And I was like, I know he's in Reacher. And I was just like, that might have been the first film I've like seen of his where like he's been main actor. And I was like, fuck it, let's put Reacher on. Finished season 1 at like 5 a.m. In my typical fashion, I put episode 1 on, was hooked, binged the whole thing.
See, it's really funny that that's your first interaction with Alan Richardson, because to me, and to a lot of people, Alan Richardson will always be Thad Castle from Blue Mountain State, which was a sitcom about college American football, where he played the captain of the team and the middle linebacker, who was a fucking moron, but really funny. So to me, he will always be Thad Castle.
Yeah, no, I don't think... I'm looking through his things now of what he's been in. Apparently he was in Smallville.
Yeah, no, he played Aquaman. He also played someone in Titans, Hawk.
Oh, okay.
He voice acted some DC characters. He's done a lot of stuff for DC.
Fair. But yeah, that's like watching Ungentlemanly Warfare into Reach actually was quite similar vibes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I finally sat and watched Reacher, and the same that happened with The Boys, where I binged it in a week. I binged this in like 2 days. I literally did a season a day, which is just perks of having lots of free time.
Yeah.
The show is very good, and I never doubted that it wasn't going to be, but like it's very good, and I can see why you were recommending it so much.
It's very much one of them things of no matter how good you know something is going to be, you never know exactly in what way it's going to be good. So you still get to go, oh, okay, this is why everyone likes it so much. Because good is a concept that can apply to so many things, but knowing why it's good and understanding that is like always the fun part of discovering something that's good. You're like, oh, it's good for that reason.
Yeah, I would say like I was pretty like from bits I'd seen, I was like, oh, it's gonna have good action. I'm sure it's gonna have a compelling story if Connor's recommending it. I didn't actually expect it to be so good in the way of like how much depth some of these characters have. So I know you said when I'd been messaging you in the group thing about watching it, you couldn't really remember season 1 very well, but
so
season 1 is I'll do the rundown.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah.
He arrives in Margrave, visiting, having pie, gets arrested, accused of murder, ends up, has an alibi. And we start to get this character of like, oh, he's crazy strong, but very intelligent, but very like military-esque, direct with things. As the story goes on, eventually we find out it's his brother. And then it becomes I'm going to figure this out. If you want to help me, i.e. the cops, you can help me. To which then it becomes, okay, we're doing this together because we've realized this whole fucking town's corrupt, including the cops. Now we're doing it off the books, but I keep doing things my way and I don't give a shit about the law. Which overall, some incredible action. You get some great action moments through both seasons of this.
It's very explosive action. You don't necessarily get like a Daredevil 5-minute hallway scene, but you get very powerful, quick bursts of action that
and some
lend
pretty
themselves
brutal
to the
fight
story
scenes.
really well, yeah.
But I really like that first season, because obviously I'm going in, I'd seen a bit of episode 2 and like the end of episode 2 into the episode 3. So it's like when I got to those bits, I was like, oh, okay, I remember these bits. After that, I was completely clueless. So like binging it meant as I'm going along, like I'm trying to figure it out. To which I was like, oh, the son's definitely the one that is like the killer. I thought the dad was more in charge, but then the son was just full on psycho, takes the corrupt dad out. But yeah, it all going wrong, and then we get these like he contacts Neagley, who he was part of Special Investigators, which the 110th, and you start to learn a little bit about where he came from, and you get like background on his brother with these flashbacks, and obviously it all comes to a head, and there's the big end up like taking down a whole money laundering operation, and then the season ends with him being like, "Yeah, I'm going to carry on just wandering."
Yeah,
and you're like, okay, cool. Season 2, I love that season 2 went into the Special Investigators team.
Yes. It's really important to understand where he comes from to appreciate why he is the way he is.
Yes. As soon as like that first episode is like Neagley contacts you, like, oh, okay, we're going to get a bit of callback to some of these characters that were established in the first one. She's going to have something for him. Then it's one of us has been killed.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, I know where this is going. I will say, I'm kind of sad that so many of them got killed and we didn't get like a full squad. Season 2 is essentially someone seemingly is killing off the 110th.
Yeah.
Then you find out it's because there's like weapon deal going on the side. Some of them got too close because they found out about it. Then there's questions if Swan has betrayed them, who's one of the members. But like, and you're getting all these flashbacks to them as when they were in the 110th. And this, I definitely think season 2 really just like showed you a lot more depth to to Reacher as a character, and just like really draws you into this is more than like just an action TV show. I really did enjoy season 2. I enjoyed both seasons. I will say I enjoyed season 2 a bit more because then you also got to pull in some of the characters from season 1.
Yes.
With Finley showing up and stuff. I'm intrigued to see where this goes next, because we've now set a kind of standard of like, he's going to arrive somewhere, as he's said in the other seasons, but shit goes wrong around him. It just like trouble finds him. Something's going to happen. He's going to get involved with something. Somehow he's going to end up being linked to it, I presume.
Yeah.
Then it's going to like unravel all that.
The beauty of Reacher is the books. There are so many books, and they are good books. So there's a lot of depth for them to work through, which makes making a TV show work really well. So I can't remember if they're following the books directly in the release order, or if they're going chronological order, or if they are skipping some books to tell a more coherent story, or what. But that is exactly why the character and like you said, you're trying to like get ahead on the story, is kind of a feeling you normally get from a book. And I think that's one of the biggest selling points of it. It takes that structure and it really makes it work. And as a result, you're left with these really compelling characters because they're distilling books and books of this character and putting it on the screen. It's a lot easier to work out how Neagley should behave after however many books where Neagley's appeared, and you've got the writer having written, say, I don't know how many books Neagley is in, but say she's in 6 books. You're like, right, what's consistent with the character? I can act that way. And I think that really does, just like you say, it lends the authenticity. Reacher is he's weird. He's a very predictable character. You know kind of what he's going to do as the viewer. You're like, he is going to do what is morally right, but he doesn't mind breaking a few laws to do what's the morally right thing. Like in the very first part of season 2, when he's like, goes in to get a new jacket, and they spot something going wrong, and he's like, are you being held up right now? He's like, yeah. Is he a gun? Is he in the car? Yeah. Has he got a gun? Okay, stay here. Bang! Deals with him. Takes the jacket back, and it's like, there's got blood on it.
Yeah, and still pays for like. Yeah, no, he is morally right, but then when someone's doing something wrong, he doesn't give a shit how he deals with it. He'll handle it on his own.
Yeah.
Even
is that chaotic good or neutral good? I think it's neutral good.
Oh,
sorry. Is it? It's lawful, neutral, it's not chaotic.
There's good, neutral, evil, lawful, neutral, chaotic. I would say maybe chaotic. He's not lawful.
No, he's definitely not lawful. It's got to be chaotic good.
Yeah, or neutral, chaotic. Well, he's in that realm of his own
he's
code.
In that corner.
I really enjoy though that, like, obviously from a glance you're gonna sit, like, if you watch a trailer or just like watch like a bit of an episode at a glance, it's a very action heavy, big burly main character. You're gonna be like, oh, big burly guy punches things, just gets like, but actually his character is really intelligent and like he has this deep moral code, but then zero like level of emotion, which just makes for a really interesting blend when mixed in with like the 1/10 as a family, and they're all very like, in season 2 when he's finding out that, oh, so and so's married and has kids now. When did this happen? And Nico's like, well, you don't know anything. You don't know anything because you don't have a phone or an address. Like, what?
He's that friend that will always be there if you absolutely need him, but you don't need him on your wedding day. Is his
Yeah.
view. But it's incredibly. I enjoy Reacher as a solo character because of the way you get stuff done, and then you get to him interacting with new people.
Mm,
But getting that in season one, and then also getting to see what he's like with
the
people he
110.
really deeply
Yeah.
cares about, was also quite nice.
Mm,
And the first thing I said to you once you finished season 1 and 2, I was like, do you now understand why season 4's been greenlit before season 3's even come out? And it is. You look at season 1 and 2, of course, the people making the decision will have seen some of season 3, and they go, how big a check do you need for season 4? Because the show simply is that good. And it's the
and
exact same reason I'm so excited for the Cross show.
yeah, you were saying about that.
Because it's a similar concept. Alex Cross is a series of books. More psychological police officer. So it'll be a bit more maybe like psychological creepy horror than action and investigation. But it's the exact same concept. We're going to take a series of books about this kind of character, and we're going to turn a book into a season, and we're going to try and do our best job here. Which is why I'm so excited, because yes, it won't necessarily be the same people working on both, but it shows that Amazon is a studio that's allowing this kind of stuff to be done well. So just like when they announce an animated project, we go, they're not going to fuck with it.
Yeah.
It gives them a little bit of, I trust them to let the people do the thing.
They also know, or they're putting plenty more trust in the creators, because they've said they've seen through Reacher, oh, this is a format and a system that works really well. So if someone else comes to pitch and look, we've got a series of well-liked books.
Yeah.
Similar, this is the vibe, this is what we want to do. They go, yeah, well, we know that works as a format, so sure, we're in on it, and we'll let you do your thing.
I mean, Cross actually comes out next Thursday, 14th of November.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah. So, like, again, it's one of them things that I'm happy to see developing. Would you like to know one tiny little mini spoiler for season 3?
Now, before you say that, I want to just say, after watching that season 2, obviously knowing season 3 is coming, and there is season 4 has also been greenlit. I'm sorry, but Swan, we didn't see his body. And in TV, and film, if you don't see a body, I refuse to accept that they're dead. All we saw was an eye and a finger, and someone can survive without them. And knowing like TV and that sort of like drama, like storylines, to have a 110 member show up down the line who they thought was dead because they saw his eye and finger.
Yeah, like, for a book series, it's the kind of thing that would.
It's one of those twists where you'll be like, "Oh shit, it's Swan. He's alive." Yeah. What?
If we say they're doing it in book order, which I don't know they are, this is book 2. In book 12, fucking Swan appears. That'd go hard, yeah.
Go on,
so the book that season 3 is based on has a character that Reacher has to deal with that is in the books described as much, much larger than Reacher.
Well, if they're gonna get an actor,
the actor has already been cast.
Oh. It's not the Mountain.
No, it's not. Reacher season 3 big guy. Olivier Richters.
Let me have a Google.
He is 7'2".
Jesus. Yeah.
He's a Dutch bodybuilder and actor.
He's the Dutch giant.
Yeah, he is massive.
Who's in Black Widow, apparently.
If you say so. So yeah, he will be in season 3. He is 7'2".
Fair.
Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting one.
That's going to be, I believe, what we call a heavy action sequence.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm glad you finally got around to watching it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And it's just another one of them things that even if we don't necessarily discuss on the podcast, we probably will, but even if we don't, it's always fun to have more shows that we both like because it's fucking awesome. And also, it probably means you might be a bit quicker on the jump with Alex Cross as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if many of the same people are involved in it, or if they've just gone, book do well as TV show series. What is another successful book?
It could well be,
Um,
and it could also just be that like they've gone, look, this is what we did with Reacher, and it was successful. We think this would really work over here if you
Oh,
guys want to use this as a blueprint.
going to the author who wrote the Alex Cross books and going, hey, this is what we did with the Lee Child Jack Reacher series. How would you feel about us maybe doing that? Here is a check. As the author, you're probably going to go, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and they're also like, and you will have control of things.
Yeah.
And they're like,
As
okay.
far as I know, Lee Child was decently involved in. And you've also got to remember, Lee Child was burnt with Reacher before when he got the films made.
See, I don't remember them.
So Jack Reacher, played by 6'6" Alan Richardson, and is massive, as Jack Reacher should be. Yeah, they cast Tom Cruise for the films.
I've
As I'm
just
sure you can
Googled
imagine,
Tom Cruise
that
Jack
went down
Reacher,
really well
and it's
with
just
fans.
clicked that, oh, I remember these films coming out. And now, knowing the show, I'm immediately looking at that and going, that doesn't seem like it's going to work.
The fans of the books were not happy when Tom Cruise got cast. They couldn't believe it. They're like, what do you mean? This man is supposed to be a mountain that you can literally spot from 2 cities over.
Yeah.
You've cast 5'2" Tom Cruise.
It's funny that like that film will now be, people will think that's a different thing completely.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, very, very much enjoyed this show. On anyone that listens that hasn't watched Reacher, I would go watch.
Yeah. The handsome deep voice is now telling you it's worth watching.
It is more than just an action TV show. There is a lot of depth there and a lot of interesting storylines and stuff. So
yeah, if you on any level enjoyed the Jack Reacher films, but you're like, oh, it's just a bit too action for me, the TV show solves that problem. They go, we're going to give you that action better and also give you more of a story to go alongside it. It's really, really good.
Nice.
Next up, Dune Prophecy is right around the corner.
Yeah, the 17th, if I remember correctly.
17th, yes. I believe is correct.
The Dune TV show.
Yes, set 10,000 years before the films. It's apparently going to deal with the kind of beginning of the Bene Gesserit. So obviously Horry hasn't seen the films yet, but I know you have a loose understanding of Dune as it is.
Yeah.
So, to put it in simple terms without spoiling anything, as with all books of this era, there is a prophecy about someone doing a thing.
Star Wars.
That prophecy is controlled by the Bene Gesserit.
Right.
And their kind of job is to make sure it happens.
Got you.
So the Bene Gesserit are a religious order for the most part, but they have a lot of power in like universal politics, so they make shit happen. So this show is kind of going to go over the people setting up the Bene Gesserit to kind of make sure they have their nose in everything they need to have their nose in and stuff like that.
Someone tells me this is going to be HBO's new Game of Thrones.
There is a very large chance of that. Absolutely. It's been described, based on people who've seen early looks of it, as Space Game of Thrones. It is also worth noting, just going back to your Star Wars reference, I didn't realise this, but there is a genuine argument that George Lucas may have ripped off Dune pretty hard.
That's kind of well known because the Dune
I
books have been
didn't realise that until after I'd seen the films. And I was like, oh my god, Tatooine and Arrakis are like really similar.
I think there's a lot of sci-fi things from that era that pulled a lot of influence from Dune because that was like the book.
Yeah.
Which obviously Star Wars was the one that like stuck around and has made its name for itself. But I actually am gonna try. So you jokingly said this last week after I'd finished Reach, you were like, right, now on to Dune.
Yeah. I like to keep you on task. I'm like, right, catch up.
I actually considered doing it, but I was like, no, I need to not cram my brain with having to try and talk about Reacher and also have June. Like
And then
one thing
Reacher
in
got
1
eaten
week.
by a giant worm and a...
I was like, I'll do one. Like I'll save that for next week. So I actually am gonna try and watch them this next week. Also now, remembering that the show was coming, I was like, it will. I know I don't need to watch them for the show, but obviously I'm going to appreciate the show a lot more if I have watched them.
And I imagine just instinctively there'll be some things that the show assumes you understand from the films, so won't be explained.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm intrigued by it. Obviously, I'm sure once I've watched the films, I'll be even more hype.
Yeah. The only thing I feel bad for you about, and you know me, I'm not a big you've got to experience this record on vinyl or this or that. Dune and Oppenheimer are like the only things I've seen where I'm like, if you're not seeing it in IMAX, you are going to miss out a little bit, which is the only thing that really sucks. The temptation to just break you into an IMAX theater and press play.
It's fine.
But I know you're going to love the fuck out of it just because it's one of them films that can't miss.
I watched the trailer for Dune Prophecy. Immediately, I'm like, Ragnar Lothbrok? He's reborn in the future in the desert? Because he's also... Have you watched Vikings?
No, I haven't.
Oh, but the actor... what's his name?
I like the idea of you watching the trailer.
Travis Fimmel, who... he was the main guy in Vikings who played Ragnar Lothbrok. And that was like his first big TV.
Yeah, I do recognize his face.
Everyone kind of now a lot of people will associate him with that. Obviously, I saw him and I was like, oh, it's Ragnar Lothbrok. Obviously, memeing to myself a bit. But then it's like his character starts talking about like, I've had a vision and I have all this and he's like very mystical. Ragnar Lothbrok was was meant to be touched by Odin and had a connection to Odin, was very mystical and connection to the gods. And I'm like, oh, so he died in Viking era and he's been reborn in the fucking future desert. Do you want to know something fun though? Because obviously, visualizing the trailer and that guy, his voice, he's an Aussie. He has a very strong Aussie accent, which always throws me because he does a really good job when he's acting of like not letting his Aussie accent come through.
So I can't remember where I read this, but a lot of Australian actors do tend to be pretty good with other accents because I think something like the Australian accent's what's described as quite a loose and relaxed accent, which means that your mouth is already a lot more malleable, I guess, like get on. Whereas like learning an English accent is the hardest because of how tight we are.
Yeah.
Because like English talk, we
stiff upper lip.
Yeah, literally, I heard it described as like we force words out, whereas like Americans and Australians they just let them fly out, and I'm like, what does that even mean? We just talk how people are supposed to talk.
And but I thought, it's obviously spotted him, and I was like, oh, another big
I'm incredibly excited. Of course, Mark Strong cutting about as he always does. This man appears in everything that looks good. If it's not Mark Strong, we don't want it.
I'll be intrigued to see if like with how hype people talked about Dune when the second one and just wider kind of started seeping into the wider media than just like nerds because it was so popular and people that probably wouldn't usually watch that sort of thing would talk about it on social media and stuff. I could see this show very easily becoming similar to like Game of Thrones, which was it became a bit of a pop culture sort of like explosion because suddenly everyone's like, if you're not watching it, you're missing out sort of attitude.
There's a really funny phenomenon, and I'm not going to mince words here, where if you take something really geeky and nerdy, Star Wars, comic books, Dune, etc., and cast really attractive people, you're going to get a wider audience that gives it a chance and goes, oh, this is actually really compelling. And then geeks just go,
yep,
told you.
Yeah.
Like, yes, Dune is nerdy as fuck. It talks about geopolitical landscape of something hundreds of thousands of years in the future in a different galaxy. That is about as nerdy as it fucking gets. And they're like, yeah, but Zendaya and Timothy Chalamet. And people are like, I'll take 2 tickets, thank you.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
But
and
it
more power
works.
to them. Like, I'm not giving, like, they both are really good actors. They smashed the role. But it's just so funny that when in doubt, cast attractive people and people will give it a chance. I mean, they did it with Game of Thrones. They've done it with everything because it does work time and time again. But yeah, I'm over the moon with this. I cannot wait to see it. You know how I feel about the Dune films.
Yeah.
They were so good. So getting more of that just to tie us over until the next one's ready is hilarious. It's also really funny to me that this like takes over like the Penguin spot in like HBO's lineup.
Yeah.
When Dune and the Batman had the same cinematographer, and they're staggering their schedule to have
That's
the same
funny.
cinematographer for their next films. Like, this cinematographer has caused such a culture shift. HBO better give this man the biggest retainer known to mankind.
That's the thing. He's like smashing it, but HBO is going to be like, right, we've got you locked in for the next 10 years, and this is
whatever
all
film he
the
makes, greenlight a spin-off.
Literally, it's like, or it's going to get to a point where they're going to go to him and go, like, have you got any ideas for something you can make? We just want you to make something.
Do you know what the biggest praise I can give to the cinematographer of the Dune and Batman films is? When the films you're making are set on a desert planet and a dark gothic city, the fact that you make them look visually interesting is nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah, true.
They in theory should be the 2 hardest places to be visually interesting. Oh, it's big and dark. Oh, it's open and grey.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Like, he's found such artistic ways to make color work in those places. Like, if you think back to the Batman film, the amount of like yellow to red colors that were used, while it still felt like Gotham's dreary and darkness, he's like, he knows how to play the system to get
a good cinematographer is an artist with like, they're just like I'd love to see how his brain works. Right, let's get into some nerdy news.
Yes.
Christ. This has been a great episode. Everything's been so positive and nice. It's just so nice to be able to enjoy stuff.
Can't wait for something in the news to ruin this.
Yeah. I don't know. I obviously I've written the news. Or not written the news. I've brought the news together. I am not the one in control of the media. Oh,
that's what someone in control
that
would tell us.
I don't know if they bought that. Right. In a Variety report, Daniel Craig has said, the people I speak to, all they want to do is take their families and go see it at the cinemas. Hopefully we can give them that experience. And he is hoping to fight Netflix to get Knives Out 3 a theatrical release. This comes after the reports that apparently in a meeting or a premiere of Knives Out 2, when he told the Netflix CEO, this is why you need to do a theatrical release, and they went, that isn't our model. He went, your model fucking sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I respect to him for like fighting this. I don't know if he wins. Like,
neither do I, but it's one of them ones where loving Daniel Craig as an actor and finding out that he also really cares about art being treated respectfully, it's like, yes.
Here's my thing for, like, from Netflix's point of view. It's like, Daniel Craig is an incredible actor and is well loved by his fans. Obviously, him being in Knives Out is a huge pull to that.
I mean, the Knives Out casts are always stacked because of the nature of the film. Like, there's so many big names. You'd think it's a marketing person's dream for a theatrical release.
But like, they'd be so, because like the way I look at it is like, if they don't do theatrical release here, no matter how much he fights, if I'm Daniel Craig, once I'm done with Knives Out and that tied to Netflix, I'm not giving Netflix any of my other projects that I'm in. Like, I'm not like your short-term thought process and model is going to ruin you long-term, Netflix, because actors are just not going to trust you with anything, or producers or directors or anything.
I mean, we literally saw this, 2 weeks ago when the report came out that Christopher Nolan's newest film, apparently Netflix offered more money than anyone, but Christopher Nolan was like, but you won't give me a theatrical release, so no.
Yeah. Like, eventually their model's going to have to change. I just don't know if it changes in time for
I know I'm not a
That's
CEO, and I know I have ulterior motives to Netflix. If I was Netflix, I'd be investing in the cinema space.
They were originally going to do that, didn't they? Try and buy a cinema chain.
I don't quite know, but if I'm Netflix, you buy your own cinemas, or you buy a few, you do full theatrical releases, and then you acquire more and more cinemas, and then you do theatrical releases only in your cinemas. And then you could fuck capitalism, but I would be such a good capitalist if I hated people. Then you increase your subscription price or introduce a new tier that's more expensive that includes an X amount of cinema tickets a month to go see Netflix films in the cinema. And then guess what? You've got theatrical releases that have ticket sales. So guess what's going to be easier? Getting people like Christopher Nolan to make films for you. And then that is people going to only your cinema. They could make it like how Sony like market the PlayStation 5, like the only place to play Spider-Man, or The Last of Us Part 2 remastered 12 times.
Think of it this way, like if you're Netflix and you buy like your own cinema chain, right? So then you have full control of what it shows. You could do something like knowing their model with TV where they drop it all in one go and people binge it. Imagine they did a theatrical release of the new season of Stranger Things where you could buy a ticket and you're sat in there to binge the whole thing with a whole group of people.
It would sell.
Yeah. It would sell massively.
You could even sell tickets for it and go, right, we will be binging the show, but if you can't make that, these are when the episodes are out and your ticket will get you into every episode. If you want to watch it in the cinema.
Also do episodic release.
So they'll be like, yeah, on release night, we'll do the 12-hour binge, but if you can only do the first 3 episodes, don't worry, come back, your ticket will still get you into 4, 5, and 6, and you can make it 4 nights out of the cinema. Like, it's... Fuck capitalism, but I'd be really good at it if someone gave me the money. Marvel are apparently submitting Agatha All Along in the comedy category for any award shows like the Emmys.
As they should do.
It's a difficult one. No, it shouldn't be in the comedy section. But when the comedy section includes things like The Bear, it's in the right section. Because, although I do prefer The Bear, Agatha All Along, tonally, is very similar to The Bear. It has moments to make you laugh. It has moments to make you go, "Oh Christ, that's a bit deep."
Yeah.
It sits on that line where it like gives you a wide range of emotions. It made me laugh more than some shows that are considered actual fucking comedies. So
yeah, that's we've learned from The Bear that the comedy category is a very loose term for that.
Unless you are high drama, you are in the comedy category.
Basically. So, I mean, as it should be submitted for these awards, we said the other, like after it was done, that this needs to get, at least for the writing or directing on certain episodes, like it should get recognized for that. I'm sure it'll also get awards for costume and prop and all that stuff.
So, an interesting caveat to this.
Oh.
There is speculation that them putting it in these categories might mean that we get another season. Because if you're not planning a second season, why would you not try and get it in the limited series category, which might have a better chance of winning awards? It might just be they view the comedy category as a larger category, so they want to try and compete there. But some people are saying, is that because you're thinking of doing another season?
I can see that logic. I would just say, we know that they're trying to make a more concerted effort with TV at Disney Plus now, with the writing. Like they're making the effort to do things a bit more how TV should be done.
Yes, absolutely.
I could see them almost using, because they know this has been well received and well liked, if they get it into this award, whether they make a second season or not, or whether they win or not, it's helpful to help then Disney TV shows are more likely to be considered in the future for things like Daredevil, which potentially will have multiple seasons.
Yes.
Like, it's almost like a getting the foot in the door, even if they don't lose because they're against a lot of competition. it's getting that respect for their name to be included.
Yeah, completely agree.
Where is
Matt
it?
Reeves has
Oh.
said any other spin-offs from his Batman universe will be character-driven, like the Penguin. This was said in an interview with Andy Serkis.
I think he said similar things.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very clear that anything Reeves does in his universe is going to be character focused, which is only a good thing, as long as it's still done well.
Yeah, and I'm so on board with the idea of like the TV shows or spin-offs in that sense are very focused on the character that they've spun off, like the Penguin has been, where it's like they're not leaning on the Batman showing up every other episode.
Well, I think the thing with these things is if you want to do a show based on a theme or a concept, why are you marrying yourself to an IP like Batman?
Yeah.
Like them IPs, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, James Bond, the big IPs. Why would you want anything to do with them if you're not going to be character focused?
True.
Because that's what the IP of them characters bring. It brings a character for you to tell a story with.
Yeah.
Whereas if he just wants to tell a noir detective crime story, guess what? You will have a lot easier time doing that if you tell that story by itself. So like it's one of the ones where it's like I don't know why you'd want to do anything in a Batman universe so heavily that isn't character first.
Do you know what I think? I think people obviously have made things that are Batman visually in like the very classic looking Batman, but not very necessarily very well done character driven. Whereas, like you say, comics are character driven, and yes, Batman has a very specific style, but also comics, as we've said many times, different artists get to do different runs and can often change how it looks for their run of a comic. Like they get to have fun with the art style. Matt Reeves is essentially doing that. He's doing the character focus, like comic books are, like very strongly focused on Batman or the Penguin, but he's having fun with his own art style of a comic in the world that he's creating around them characters.
This is a step in that direction of what we've been talking about a fair bit recently of comic books aren't a genre. Comic book movie isn't a genre. Detective noir is a genre, and he's doing a character story in that genre with the Batman.
Yeah.
Just like if you really wanted to, you could do a character-driven Batman story in I don't know, like a 1970s pop art style. Like you could absolutely tell that. Like, granted, I may maybe go more Batman Beyond for that kind of art style, but you know, you can actually do any kind of visual styling you want with these characters because it should be story driven. And like you said, it's just like a different artist deciding to draw it a different way. That's the way it should be treated.
Yeah, as long as you're going in story driven, it works. Which is why the Matt Reeves stuff has been working so well. And I'm excited to see, knowing that the Penguin came from what happened in Batman 1, we know there's going to be some other side character set up in Batman 2, excluding of the main villain and whatever's going on, that then spin off. Like, he'll, in writing Batman 2, he's going to find what he knows is going to be the next spin off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll wait and see.
I'm very, very excited. Reuters, which is not a normal publication we discuss here, it's actually a very large financial publication. And I'll explain why. They've reported that Netflix has had offices in France and Netherlands raided regarding tax fraud and potential money laundering allegations. This was a conducive effort between the Netherlands and French police. Netflix maintains it will cooperate fully and has done nothing wrong. It is worth noting other tech companies have had things like this happen before and nothing comes of it because of whatever reason. These kind of companies can sometimes be more susceptible to seeming like they've done something wrong. However, fuck corporations, I don't trust them. So it's worth keeping an eye on.
It's one of those things where I can see how, because they're obviously American-based companies, but also working in other countries, like when you've got something that was originally American, spread out offices around the world, things with money can get a bit messy because you're dealing with cross-country stuff.
Yeah.
I could see how stuff gets messed up, but people like Netflix scale very easily can just hide things,
It's
sweep
one of
things
the
into
ones.
loopholes.
No one is going to cancel their Netflix subscription over getting raided because of this. So it's not going to cause the company damages that way. And it's the best way for them to make sure that everything is above board.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, like you say, when you're dealing with that amount of money across the globe, it's very easy to hide shit, especially like in a money laundering way. You just go, oh yeah, there are 5,000 people here paying for a subscription and over here that don't actually exist.
Yeah.
Like, it would be insanely easy.
It's actually
so,
just
like,
100 phones in China on
Yeah.
someone's butt.
Like, don't get me wrong, it's probably nothing,
Yeah.
but it's always interesting to see what's going on in the big bad world of business.
Yeah.
Speaking of Netflix and money,
well,
Arcane seasons 1 and 2 cost a combined $250 million to make, making it the most expensive animated series of all time.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me, but also Netflix has a lot of money and Riot has a lot of money.
I'm going to ask you this as obviously I haven't seen Arcane. Maybe I will do a trade with you and watch that for the stuff that you finally caught up with. Does it look good enough to warrant that amount of money? Bearing in mind the Wild Robot, which I went and saw the other week, only cost 85 million to make, and that was a feature length that was arguably one of the greatest pieces of animation I've watched.
I would say you've got to look at it in the terms of Riot has found their style of animation. And that took a good few years. This cost will have included them ramping up, because this has been done in-house. Like Riot's done this.
That cost isn't the cost to Netflix, including a licensing fee.
I don't know what this cost will include, but I know that Arcane has been done by Riot in-house, because through the years, Riot has become more than just a game studio. Like they have a whole music production, Riot Music, that like makes songs for their thing. Like that is a whole wing of Riot. They then, as cinematics improved and they found a style that was a bit more animated-esque, their animation, like they've built an in-house animation team and studio for their own cinematics and stuff that then got brought in. Like when Arcane was happening, it was like, oh, we already have this, we just ramp everything up. So I imagine some of this cost is essentially ramping all that up so that they could make the show. I think their art style for their stuff is great. They have some of the best gaming cinematics in my point of view, and the style of it adds to that. I think season 1 was incredible. It's also, for people that haven't watched or don't know League, you can watch Arcane 1 and understand. Like, my brother-in-law has no idea other than League was a game. He watched season 1 and really enjoyed it. So it's like, I think it's money well spent. Riot has a fucked it. Like, I can guarantee they will make not obviously all of it back, but they'll have made a fair chunk from just the marketing in games through skins.
So here's my thing with this. I don't know who this cost is to.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the cost Riot have, or if this is the cost Netflix have, or if it's just all of the cost to get this onto Netflix, forgetting any money that may have changed hands. So if it cost Netflix, say, 125 million to buy it off Riot, and Riot spent 125 million making it, you could argue that it cost $250 million to make, but actually it only cost 125 million because Netflix bought it off them for how much it cost them to make it. So I don't know how the numbers break down. For all we know, it cost 170 million to make, Netflix paid 80, etc.
Yes.
But like you say, Riot probably have made money on this. No, they definitely will, because they wouldn't have made a season 2 if it was losing the money. They will have, say, spent 120 million to animate it. Netflix have paid them 100 million or even 120. They've gone, we'll cover the cost. And then Riot's upside is all the money they've made from Valorant with the Arcane skins and League of Legends with the Arcane stuff that's related to the show and all that.
You also have to look at the fact of since Arcane Season 1, Valorant obviously came out, which was like that cinematics and stuff. Like, them ramping up at their own Riot Animation studio for this has also benefited them with all the cinematics and stuff they do for their games, for like World. Like, they make, like, them ramping it up, they took the money and essentially have built themselves a studio that is also helping them in all other aspects of the Riot business. So it's like win-win for them.
Absolutely. So maybe I'll give it a watch.
I recommend.
Deadline tonight, as we get ready to record, have reported that Star Wars episodes 10 to 12 are in the works. But some insiders are suggesting this may not actually be episodes 10 to 12 of the Skywalker saga, but rather the beginning of a new saga.
I really don't want it to be episodes 10 to 12. I really don't.
Here's the thing. My instant reaction, whether it's Skywalker saga or not, is just I'm scared. And like it's so dramatic to be scared about a film. But I'm just like, when Marvel announce a new project, I am never ever scared. I'm like, oh, I'm not sure that's a great idea, but we'll give it a go. Star Wars have swung and missed a lot with films. They've got nervous about the quality of films to the point now where I'm really worried they're going to placate a certain section of the audience. And as a result, we're going to get a much worse product for it, especially if the placating of that audience means that it is actually episode 10, 11, and 12. Because we need to be done with the Skywalker saga.
Here's my thing. I don't think it will be 10. There's two mindsets right now. Because we know there is the Rey film being made. That's going to show what Rey did after 7, 8, and 9. Either they've been writing that and gone, oh, we can turn this into another trilogy, which I think is a bad call.
So do I.
Or it's not 10, 11, 12 because the Rey film's coming out and they don't want to do more than just one more on the end. And this is a new one, but like internally, it's just being called episodes 10, 11, and 12 because it's the next three, the next three. But it could be a completely different saga. Like maybe it's set way later. My thing is, I want to be proven wrong with this, but whatever it is, even if it's somewhat decent, Star Wars fans will hate it. Like they'll spit their dummy out and they won't like it and it'll get bad press.
Whether we like it or not, there are a selection of people in the world who get paid to be upset even if they're not really upset. Now, I'm not saying that they don't genuinely dislike some of the stuff that gets made, but I'm also telling you their bank balance looks a lot happier, a lot healthier when they are unhappy with everything. Which means nothing that's ever going to get made by a big company ever again is going to have everyone agreeing it's a good thing, especially when it's part of a long-running franchise. Because there'll be someone who's going to make more money by being upset.
It's also the thing of like, because it's still Disney, everyone will like, until it's not got Disney attached to it, they just won't give it a chance, which is wild. All I hope is if there is a new trilogy in the works, and whether it's a new saga or what, please do not change director halfway through. Because that fucked you last time. I hope they fucking learn. Even if it means delaying the project for whatever reason. Also, please, if you want this to be somewhat well received, you need to tell people early on, as it starts to come out, they're like, oh, Dave Filoni is like strongly involved in this. Like, he's the only person that fans will put any faith in. And if he's not attached to this project, people are going to be like, we don't trust it. Whereas if he's come out and said like he's actively one of the main people helping with this, people will give it some more of a chance. At least I think they will.
Yeah, I agree. But there are also people who are really anti-Filoni. This is the thing.
Yeah,
Whenever
true.
something gets really large, you're going to have people who disagree on the core kind of tenets of what makes it great. And as a result, as like people like me and you, who we slightly disagree on our preferred side of it, you're a little bit more on the mystical side, I'm a little bit more on the political side, but we can still enjoy the other half of it. I think that's where you start to get, and like, I do genuinely believe most people do just want the best for the franchise.
Yeah.
But it stopped being about, oh, I'd prefer them doing this, and it started being, fuck you because you convinced them to do the thing I didn't want. And it just, and that's kind of spiraled out of control over the last 6 years.
I also, with how Acolyte was received, I worry that this will be still tied to the Skywalker, because I said it after Acolyte, like, I don't know if Disney is bold enough to still try and go to a new era. Like, I
I
think
completely agree.
they'll play it too safe, unfortunately.
Completely agree.
Speaking of Disney.
And then, yeah, D23 Brazil. It's kind of weird because it's not their main D23 event, which we would normally cover. But it's being pumped up to have a bit of substance to it.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what to expect. The thing I said before we started recording when we noticed that this was happening was, I don't think Disney are going to burn a crazy, oh my god, what the fuck announcement on an event that has a subcategory of like where it is in the world.
Yeah. My only thing is, like, with the internet, it doesn't really matter where it is in the world. Like, it'll go on the internet and it'll spread. Like, it's one of those. We've recently had the TV slate. If anything, maybe they go into showing a bit more footage on some of those set date shows like Daredevil.
I think we can maybe expect a new trailer for Skeleton Crew, because that comes out soon.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be amazed at a trailer for Captain America Brave New World, because that's February.
Yeah.
An extended look at something like Daredevil wouldn't shock me.
Or What If, because that's December.
Yeah, that's December as well. But an actual announcement of something new, I just don't see. But more trailers and stuff is always good times, because it means we know we're getting closer to something. We get an idea of what the vibe's going to be.
They might also give an updated trailer for Spider-Man animated.
That'd be cool as well. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I'm hoping to get out of this.
I think basically what we've already seen on the slate, we might get a bit of an extended look on some of those things. And this is the first thing since that came out, so maybe they'll discuss it a bit. But yeah, like you said, I don't think there's going to be any big brand new reveals. I've said it before, like Star Wars, any big Star Wars stuff that we want to find out about, like Andor Season 2 and different things like that, like Ahsoka Season 2, they're going to be saved for the Star Wars Celebration next year. Like, those are like big Star Wars things. Like, they're going to wait. So, just kind of wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, I completely agree. Hopefully we get some fun stuff out of it to discuss next week.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
We'll have to wait and see. But that is it from us this week. Thank you as always for hanging out. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know we have. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you next time with the finale of Penguin.
Yes.
Ooh, very exciting. Josh will be back with more gaming news.
Yes.
And we'll see you then.
See you next week.